Okay, so this is how I do a tarot demonstration. Now, you can think to yourself that you want to follow along and see if my interpretations of the cards go along with the question you ask in your head or not. So here's how we do it. Well, here's how I do it. I'm going to be using the Thoth deck. All right. Hi. So you want to have your tarot read? All right. Have you ever had your tarot read before? Yeah? No? Okay. All right. Well, let's get a few things out in the open. Right now, you should start shuffling them cards. Shuffling them cards, shuffle them cards. Some people say you got to get your energy within the cards. I don't know about any of this business about energy. I'm unclear about it. But I'll tell you what. As you're shuffling the cards, I need you to make a decision since you want to have your tarot read. What's that? What's that decision? Well, I want you to decide if you want to do a 0, a 1, or a 2. Yeah, I know. That doesn't make any sense. What am I talking about? Let me tell you. Keep shuffling. Keep shuffling. A 0, a 1, or a 2. Well, a 0 means you don't ask a question. You shuffle them cards. Shuffle them cards. Are you still shuffling? Yeah. All right, good. Now, a 1 is you ask a question as you're shuffling the cards and imputing your energy into them, but you don't tell me. You don't tell me what that question is. Instead, I'm going to interpret the cards as best I can according to having no idea what your question is, and hopefully it'll work out. You're gonna do a 2. What about 2? A 2 is you think of a question as you're shuffling them cards, and then you tell me what that question is. And I will interpret the cards according to that question. Yeah, the 0 is the most popular. It's low stakes. 1 is good. 2, I get the most accurate reading. 0, I figured as much. Everybody goes with a 0. That's okay. That's good. All right, so you're still shuffling, right? Okay, good. Keep shuffling. Now, one of the most important things I need to explain to you right off the bat, these cards don't tell the future. Not a bit. So what am I going to do here? I am going to be interpreting 5 cards. 2 in the past, 1 in the present, 2 in the future. Now, what I'm doing is I'm doing something like psychoanalysis. So you go into your therapist and your therapist asks you a question. You say, well, I think I'm this way. And then they ask you a question and they say, maybe you're that way. And you kind of try to figure out, am I that way or am I this way? In the same way, you have an idea about what's going to happen in your future and what your present life is like, or the answer to whatever question you have in your head or that you're going to ask me, or no question at all. And this is going to give possible interpretations of that. Just like if you get a different story about yourself, it dislodges the story you're already telling. We need more stories in life. So what we're going to do is you and I together are going to tell a story based on these cards. And these stories will hopefully provide a flash of insight so you can understand more about yourself, or you can have an insight into your future. Now, the thing is, this has to be a conversation. So you can feel free to ask me any sorts of questions. Now, I'm going to talk a lot. I always talk a lot. I'm going to talk a lot as I interpret this. Stop me at any point to ask me questions. Part of my process is I kind of spitball a lot of ideas and images and ideas from these different cards, and then I kind of interpret them as I go. That's how I do it. Now, it's basically I'm giving you the skeleton of a story, and it's up to you to put the flesh on it. So what I will suggest is once I get done, I'll ask, yeah, is this good or bad or whatever? You can give me whatever answer you want, but I suggest you take a picture of these cards and think about them over the past week and drop me a line. Let me know if they made more sense or made less sense or you got any insights on them. We shall see. You about ready? All right, well, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to lay out these cards. All right, here we go. Give me a split second. Here we are. Let's get this a little bit bigger. All right, now you can't see me. All right, here we go. You know what? You don't need to see me. There we go. All right, so this is what's happening. We have laid out our cards. This is a great initial one. So our 2 cards on the left are the past. The 1 in the present are the present. The second is and the last 2 are the future. Our first card is lust. This is the 11 card. In other significant versions, this means strength, according to the tarot. What we see here is an image within Thelemic imagery that they call the Whore of Babylon, the divine female. You'll see that she is astride a lion. Usually she wrestles this lion. She is holding a chalice that is linked with a ray of light, and you see horns above that are phallic symbols. This is showing a woman that is in a sense of rapture. You see, she's turning her head away. Lust here is power. It's erotic possibility. So in this spot in your past, this shows that you were in a place of sort of sexual and erotic balance. Now remember, erotic, we're not going to go back to the Greek term of erotic. We're going to use the Western mystical notion, which is a sort of sexual sensuality. You'll see that this card also blends the image of the lion and the serpent. You'll see that the tail is as if a serpent. You'll also see that she is burnishing a wand that clearly is phallic if you take a good look. So what does this card represent? This represents possible femininity, but I don't think it's that really. I think what's going on here is it shows that there is an equipoise, a balance to sexuality, and a sexuality that is able to be put into the world and helps you manifest more in life. I'm not talking about romance. I'm like seeing the world as an erotic creation that you are balanced with. Moving forward, remember we're still in the past. This is the Two of Wands. So our first card was out of the Major Arcana. It's a stage in the journey of the soul. The Two of Wands, and wands represent magic, fire, will, magic being the transformation of the world according to one's will and oneself according to one's will. We'll see that the two wands here, and in the text according to this, the Book of Thoth by Crowley, he says they are Vajras, but in fact, Vajra is a Sanskrit word for thunderbolt. These are actually Tibetan dorjes. These are used in magical rituals to get rid of entities, to kill demons, but they also represent wisdom. They represent wisdom that is in line with the Buddha's vision. So what we're looking at is we went from a spot of balance to another spot of balance. I'm saying erotic balance, strength, that strength of having sort of a sense of desire manifesting oneself in the world. But Dominion shows that the will is balanced. It's a high card, the two. So it's one step removed from the ace. If you're looking at the Tree of Life, this would be so the second one down. Or is it Hokmah? I suck with Hebrew. So what I want you to notice, though, about this card is that as you look at the fire, it's diffused, but the fire is being held down, pinned down by these ritual daggers. This is your will. So moving forward out of your past, you have come to a great place where you're manifesting your will in the world. You feel a lot of possibilities. The world feels like your oyster as long as you can apply yourself to it and your will to it. Not your brain, but that essential will of who you really are. So our center card, our present, is the Princess of Swords. It's a court card. So this represents a person or an aspect of yourself. It is female. This could be a woman or a feminine man, or if you're a male, a female version of yourself, or if you're male, a female version, or if you're female, a male version of yourself. She's turning away, but she's striking upward. Swords represent discrimination, the mind, thought. As such, she shows you're at a spot where you're going to meet a person or become a person who is boldly moving forward, but isn't being rash per se. This is a balanced mental spot. Becoming a balanced mental person or meeting someone who's going to influence you, who has a sense of strong mental application. This is a thinker. This is a wise person in your life. This is not necessarily a wise person in your life that will impart religious wisdom or spiritual wisdom, but wisdom for how to get your brain in the right direction. It's like a college professor is a good person. This could be, especially like a chemistry professor. Okay, we're moving forward. Sadness, sadness, sadness. We have disappointment. So in this card, this is the Five of cups. So you work your way all the way down the tree of life until you get the 5, and you have this 5 of cups. When I look at cups, which represent art, love, romance, creativity, I like to look at the way that the stalks of these plants and lotuses interact with the cups and with the sea behind it. The sea that these little cups are drawing from is sort of brackish. It's not moving. The cups are empty. There's no liquid flowing into them. The petals of the plant are dying. So why is this disappointment? It's disappointment because you see the cup as your capacity to be filled with love or art or inspiration, but it's not being fed. There's no liquid going into it. It's empty. And the cup is not breaking apart, but it's just unfulfilled. How are you disappointed at this point? You are disappointed because while you have the capacity for love or inspiration, it's not being met. This is a relationship gone south, or someone who wants a relationship and doesn't have it, or someone's working in their arts and just can't get fulfillment. However, the intriguing thing we have is we have the 2 of discs. Discs, and this is a great card to have here. We're in your future. Discs represent worldly prosperity, money. It's up at the top of the tree of life in the 2nd position, just like Dominion was over there with wands. So there's a connection there, and they're both in a similar position. So we'll see what we can make of that. We also see that we have a sort of balanced state of strong sexual eroticism in the very first card, and then in the 4th card, there's sort of an empty emotional state. That's interesting too. So the 2 is that the 0 or the ace or the 1 of discs would be like the ideal manner of making money potentially. So discs are kind of interesting because they're almost reversed. So if you have like the 10 of discs, you're coming into a bunch of money. If you're coming into the 1 of discs or the ace of discs, you're getting the potentiality for money. So this is a place where, coming out of that disappointing position, you're going to find yourself stable with the ability to earn money and gain prestige, but not necessarily realizing it at that point. So the card is called change. So there's a displasion from the balance, but you'll see the Ouroboros snake. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on there. The yin and yang. I don't like to make too much of a case on that one. I don't think they actually tell us that much. What we're looking at here is a coming toward prosperity potential. You'll have that. It's like a great it's like you suddenly get a whole bunch of stock in a company, you bought it real low, but you don't know if it's going to go high or not, but you got a good sense it is going to go high. All right, so the quick and dirty reading, based on your no question, because you chose a 0. I would say you were in a past very satisfying relationship, and it was mental. There was and in that relationship, there was something that really propelled you forward. However, in your present state, you're still in that relationship, but you've met someone new or become someone new. And you're going to see that that past relationship that you were holding on to, that I'm saying is completely based on that card, lust, is going to be disappointing. And there's going to be a change. And that change is going to lead you into a new direction and a new opportunity that will be about, unlike everything before, will be about you having material prosperity. So you're going to move from a place of sort of being in a good spot, moving into a sort of collegiate reality, meeting new good people, and then you're going to find yourself with a lack of inspiration, a lack of love in your life that's going to cause you to do something new. So what am I saying? Past love relationships are going to fade into something more intellectual. And in that intellectual space, it's going to become unsatisfying, which is going to lead you to change your relationship and change your job and move somewhere else. Quick and dirty read. Quick and dirty read. Now, notice, as I read those cards, not once did I say, I'm getting this image coming to me. What we really want to see here, what we really want to see when we're doing these readings, is to read the symbolism. Read how the cards interact. That's why I saw that lust and disappointment went together. That's why I was seeing that change and dominion come together. They don't always, But here they're really kind of speaking to one another. You're playing the cards off one another to kind of get an interpretation. Now, what I don't want you to do when you do your tarot reading assignments or when you gather to do tarot reading is just look at it and go, I see a lusty lion. I see some fiery wands. That tells me that, I don't know, something, that your house is going to burn down. Or this shows me that you're going to meet a crazy lady. No, don't do that. Just read the cards and look at the little books. Here, use the little book to look it up. All right, let me change something real quick. All right, and let us go to something else. Just give me a second. 1 second here, 1 second here. Okay. Where are we? Here we go. Oh, these computers, I tell you. Where's my new folder? Here we go. Look at this other one. All right. Here we go. Okay, here we are with a different layout. Minimize myself here. All right, so this layout it has more elements of, we have 2 more elements of trump cards. And this is actually a little bit more of a positive one. So let me dig into it again. Here we go. So we've got our 2 cards in the past. We have luxury. That's cups again. 4 of cups. Now, the 4 of cups, if you look at the background on the sea, it's very pleasant. It's placid. And you'll see that the different stalks are pulling up water through the lotus, shining down into the cups. The cups are running over in the top and then into the other cups, but they aren't overflowing back into the sea. Luxury is what the name of it is. But what's really going on here is something like you're beyond satisfaction. Cups, again, represent romantic love, artistic inspiration, and the like. So in this, you see that the top cups are overflowing, but the bottom cups seem to be able to take as much as possible. So you don't have an excess of love, romance, or whatnot, but what you do see, it's not an excess that you're losing. It's like you have more than you need, but you're still able to enjoy what you have. So in this, I would say an artistic position or an inspiration or a romantic place where you're very pleased. And in fact, you feel wealthy in the fact that you have more than you need, but you don't have so much that it spoils you. It doesn't make you debauched or overly or not. I can say luxurious. There's not overwhelming. So then we're moving into these 2 cards, which are some of my favorites, in fact, in the Thoth deck. The 5 is Hierophant. Now a Hierophant, and the older versions of these would be the Pope. So a Hierophant is someone who reveals the divine. So in this case, we see that we have this figure. He's making magical gestures. He's holding a wand. He has man within himself. He has a goddess below him who is illuminating him. He has the 5-pointed stars of unity. Behind him are the 5-sided, what do you call it? 4-leaf clover, 5-sided clover, which also stands in for a pentagram or pentacle. Same thing as you see man inside of the chest of the Hierophant. You see behind him the elephant and the bull, which Crowley said has to do with Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, who is the god of openings and closings. And the bull has to do with Taurus, the astrological sign of this. Around the 4 corners, you see 4 angels, the one who is human, the one who has the head of an eagle, the one who has the head of a bull, and the one who has the head of a ram. The Hierophant is a teacher. The Hierophant is a big change that reveals something about yourself. The Hierophant is not necessarily initiation, but it is the initiator. This is meeting someone who's going to change everything via their sort of mystical insights, and define mystical as widely as you'd like. Then we move to the center, the Magus, the magician. He is he's higher than the Fool, who is like 0, 0 of all possibility. But 1, he is that moment when he can move forward. He's got an idea. It's inspiration, being filled with the Spirit and having a sense of where to go. He is surrounded by all of the magical implements, the knife, the cups, the glowing winged egg, which represents God on earth, the wands, and the discs. Above him are, you see that his main magical tools are the pen and the book, because in our modern age, in this eon, our main weapons in the world are writing. Above him further is the caduceus, the intertwining snakes, and the wings of Horus, I believe. And those represent, again, man and God on earth and a realization of the true will. You'll see that there's a monkey coming and attacking him. This is Typhon, or sometimes Hanuman, the Sanskrit Hindu god. And the notion is that if you don't properly act right as the Magus, you're going to get knocked out by the big monkey. So in the Magus, one must accept new possibilities, fill themselves with the ability to realize them, and move forward as the magician. You have pure possibility at 0, the Fool, but the magician says moving forward into something new and realization of the will. Princess of Wands, court cards. So wands represent will, magic, fire. Here we see the woman and the tiger again. She is also dancing with the tiger, but she seems to be taking her will and moving even further away from lust, from the craziness of the tiger, and she's dancing her way forward. This is a person, a female version of yourself, a female person, a female male, who really has a sense of how to live in the world, how to manifest that person's will in the world. This is the person that has realized their perfect job and is doing it perfectly. But she is also swept into the currents and all of the energies that you see swirling around her. She's able to take the sort of kookiness and craziness of life and channel it into a positive direction, which is perfectly into this third card, which is also a major arcana called Adjustment. It used to be called Judgment. Here you see the Alpha and the Omega. You'll see that there's a play of triangles and circles, and that you see the balance of justice. And you see the sword, which represents here will. The idea here is stuff's going to change, and it's going to work out in a balanced spot. You're not going to get way ahead. You're not going to get way behind. You're not going to be forgiven and completely absolved, but you're not going to be held accountable for everything you've done. This card is difficult for me. I struggle with its interpretation, and in past versions of this, it showed bodies being raised from the dead, with the horn of Gabriel being shown at the time of rapture. This shows that things are going to balance out in the right direction. Everything is going to move toward a balanced spot. Quick and dirty reading. All right. You were in a place where you were looking good. Comfortable, sensually satisfied, sexually satisfied, erotically satisfied, artistically satisfied. I'd have to actually ask the person, because this doesn't really work when I'm not having a conversation with someone. I'm just doing my best here. And then someone came into your life and changed everything by revealing who you really were, and you weren't aware. And this dislodged where you were at. You're moving out of the past where you were in this sort of balanced, luxurious, comfortable space. You're no longer comfortable. Now you have to become the Magus. The Hierophant has revealed your true will. You know who you are now and what you got to do. And you got to move forward willfully to do that. And somebody's going to help you. Somebody's going to help you manifest that will in the world and make changes in the future. This person you're going to meet, or this person you're going to become, is going to be able to harness those energies. And then at the end, in your future, you're going to find that things are going to shake out and come to a pretty balanced position. Not poor, not rich, not beaten down, not completely thriving, but in a balanced spot. It's a very positive reading. All right, so that is how I read tarot. I hope you've enjoyed it. Your assignment is to go out and get a tarot deck and read for someone else. And you can use some of the techniques that I've used here. Now, I use the 5-card draw. And that's just the way that's worked for me the best. I picked up tarot a few years ago. I had gone to a Gnostic Mass in Los Angeles with the Order of the OTO, and I contacted a friend of mine who was involved with that order I knew from about 20 years ago. And I said, man, I remember when I read Crowley's Magic and Theory and Practice, and it really blew my mind. And you told me, when I asked what's next, you told me, get the Book of Thoth and start working with the cards. It took me 20 years, but it's been very satisfying. It's not only a way for me to meditatively think through things, it's also a way for me to organize mystical symbols in a way to understand them well. It's also how I learned the Kabbalah, because I just could not get my head around it until I started working with the cards. And it's also for a way for me to meet people. I'll just go out to a bar or a restaurant and I'll just start reading the cards. I do what I call solitaro, where I just read the 5 cards, kind of think about them, contemplate them, and whatnot. And invariably, somebody will come over and I'll read the tarot cards for them. It's a fun way to get to know people. I've made very good friends that way, in fact, before. Sometimes, and at the end, they'll be like, can I give you money? I was like, nah. You can buy me a cup of coffee. You can buy me a beer, whatever. Then usually I find that there's like 5 more people that want tarot reading. So I gotta be careful how many shots and beers I take while reading tarot. But it's a fun little practice. It's one of all of this magic that I talk about, and I do believe that magic is not real, in the sense that we looked at as magic as rituals that change the earth, and magic as witchcraft and fear. But magic is self-realization. There's something to it. Self-exploration, self-realization. And the tarot is just one of the many tools that one can use, but it's the one that I find the most satisfying, the most interesting. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see y'all later.